Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I am so excited for this solo episode today. We're going to be talking all about how to demand respect from people you're dating. And demanding respect from people you're dating is crucial when you are single, but it's also crucial when you're in a relationship. Very, very crucial because if your respect goes when you're in a relationship, the rest is going to go shortly thereafter because respect is the glue that keeps a relationship together, I think, right? And when you're dating, you have to establish that respect because that's the foundation for that relationship. So let's just get right into it. And I guess at the end, I'll give you a little update on my life and everything. Okay, I thought I heard my voice. I was like, am I going crazy? Amazing. Okay. No more echo is happening, so I don't have to cringe when I hear my voice. All right. Getting right into it, the thing about being respectable and having respect. Actually, you know what? Can I start over? Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited for this solo episode today. We are going to be talking all about how to demand respect from people that you're dating. But it's not just people that you're dating, it's not just for single people. You need respect when you're in a relationship, when you're in a committed relationship, when you're in a marriage. Respect is so crucial. It is the foundation that it's the glue. If the respect slips, the relationship slips. If the respect isn't there when you're dating, you're just not going to end up with this person because you need to have mutual respect for one another. So we're going to get right into kind of how the hell that happens and if it's something that happens naturally, if you have to follow a set of guidelines in order to establish that respect. And I think it's kind of a bit of both, you'll see. Just to check in with what's going on with me, it's actually Halloween today. So happy Halloween to those who had celebrated. This, I think, is coming out a week or two after. And I obviously had to dress Zachary up. It was a big deal for me because it's his first Halloween. And I really wanted him to be something cute. So we dressed him up as Boss Baby. But it's so funny. I ordered this costume on Amazon and it was this random Amazon suit and it was so itchy. He hated it. He wouldn't stay in this costume for more than a second and he literally ripped it off basically the second I put it on him. But I took some photos of him in it and then I was like, F it. I'm returning this costume to Amazon because he barely wore it and he hates it and he's not wearing it again. And at this point, I didn't think that we had any Halloween party to go to. So I return this costume and all of a sudden I get an email that after I actually returned the costume, postage, Amazon, Whole Foods, whatever. I get an email from his class that he has to dress in costume the next day. So I'm like, of course this happens. So I run to Party City. There are I'm not kidding, 3 costumes left. And 2 of them are girls' costumes. So I'm like, this is just my luck. I ended up finding a firefighter costume. So all is well. It's truly not that big of a deal. And a bear, which is unisex. And it was fine. And one of them fit him. And, life goes on. I just think it's so funny how, as parents, we will do anything for our kid not to be the one in class who doesn't have X, Y, and Z. And there's just so much pressure. There's so much pressure. And I actually just wrote recently on my Substack for We Met at Baby about this article based. So what I wrote was based on an episode of The Daily called The Parents Aren't All Right. And that is based off of an address by the Surgeon General who basically said parents are just overdoing it and doing too much. Anyway, I digress. Now that's my update. Not much else to report. Life is life is good. And we're excited. We are traveling for the first time with Zachary in a few months. and he's been doing okay. He's now sleeping again. And now that I said that, he's not going to be. So let's all knock on wood and get right into how to demand respect from people you're dating. So, the way to get respect from someone, and this is not surprising, but you might be like, wow, I didn't think about that for some reason, is to be respectable, is to have respect for yourself. So, I always say if you're going out on a date with someone and you're like, just so I have to go at 9. I got to meet my girlfriends for a birthday. 9 p.m. comes around on your date and you haven't made moves. The person you're dating is going to be like, I guess they don't stick to what they say, right? I guess this birthday doesn't mean a lot to them. By the way, it doesn't even matter if you made the birthday up. If you say that you have somewhere to be, if you sign up for that workout class at 8 a.m., you better get your ass out and go to that thing. You better get your ass up and go to that class. At least make the person that you're dating think that you're doing this. Or if you're actually physically with them in person, you got to just leave and go home if you made up the birthday, because that is going to teach them that you don't respect your own boundaries, your own limits. And so yeah, I guess we're starting out hot here. So you gain respect by being respectable, by being honest, by doing what you say you will do, which we talked about, and, doing all the things that you know that you should be doing. I made a list of the ways to demand respect from people that you're dating. So let's just get right into it. The first is pretty obvious, but you gotta establish clear boundaries. You gotta communicate what behaviors you're comfortable with, what you won't and what you won't tolerate, and be very firm in upholding these. So, really, this to me means stop prioritizing their needs and wants over yours, especially early on. So, for example, if you're dating a guy who loves to watch the game and he wants to go watch the game at a bar, and he's like, you know, can you come with me? Come with me to go watch the game in a bar. It'll be so fun. And you are like, yeah, I would love that. When in reality, what you would love is getting in your comfiest clothes, your sweatpants, ordering your girl dinner on the couch, watching Housewives. But you are saying, oh, yeah, I would love to go to the bar and watch sports. Then you are not respecting yourself and your wants, right? So all of a sudden, you're going to be going to the bar all the time because you didn't have enough respect for yourself to be honest. And by the way, if you just say to that, I would actually rather be cozy in my sweatpants at home, he thinks that's cool. He thinks it's hot that you're like, I'm not about to please you. It's funny, I was at dinner last night on a double date with a great couple, a new mom friend and her husband. And we were talking about how in early dating, she knew that he was an adventurer. So she was like, "Yeah, like I can hang. I love to, cave dive or whatever it is." And of course, then they ended up spending their honeymoon doing just that. And she was like, "Yeah, no, this is terrible." And we were laughing about how in the beginning when you're dating someone, you kind of just say things sometimes to we know who someone is now when we go into a relationship because like let's say that we match with them on a dating app. We've seen their photos climbing Mount Vesuvius. What is Mount Vesuvius? I feel like that's not a real mountain. Wolf, what is Mount Vesuvius? Can you hear me? It's like not a real mountain. I made up a mountain, but wait, now I really need to look this up. But like Kilimanjaro or something. Wait, Mount Vesuvius. Oh, it is a mountain in Italy. Okay, sick, sick. Anyway, so you say something like, I love to climb mountains, whatever. And we see a picture of them doing something like that in their dating profile. And we're like, oh, yeah, we can do that. We love to do that. And we position ourselves as someone who does that. No, not the move. In fact, when I was recently taking over my cousin's Hinge profile and reaching out to guys, which I do a lot for her, there was a guy who was literally climbing mountains in every photo. And I think he even had a prompt that was like, you shouldn't go out with me if you can't climb a mountain. And I was like, bro, I'm never going to climb a mountain. Is that okay? And he was so turned on by it. He was hitting her up. He was trying to go out with her. So I think the point here is just be true to yourself. This is you establishing the clear boundaries. Hey, I'm never going to be the kind of girl who goes camping, but I'm really cool and funny and I do other stuff that you might like, right? And then another thing about establishing clear boundaries is not accepting bad behavior. I hate the phrase, and I've talked about this before. I hate the phrase pick your battles. I find it to be so like diminishing of people's feelings, and I just think it's silly. You should have battles. Battles make you stronger in a relationship. They make you more connected. They make you grow. I don't know what my hair is doing here. If you're watching the YouTube, where like we have like pay us over here going on. Um, and it's really just important to, as something comes up that you didn't like, you say that right there and then. I've told this story before, but early on when I was dating Steven, it was COVID, I think, 2.5 months into us dating. And there was a gathering on Zoom. Yeah, TBT, you remember those. And it was with his high school friends. And we were kind of going around saying things. And then the spotlight was on us. And someone said, how did you guys meet? Or how did you guys get together? It was like really awkward. And I was put on the spot. And I said something because I was really nervous. And then he said something making fun of the thing that I said. And then I felt really bad about it. And it was already so much pressure in front of his whole high school crew to talk about our relationship when I didn't even know anyone and I was meeting them on Zoom. And so after he made fun of me and after the Zoom ended, I immediately was like, that made me feel really bad. And I was really nervous to talk. And you making fun of me didn't feel good. And I really didn't like that. And this wasn't even, I don't even know if we were official yet. And I said this. As soon as I felt it, I said it. As soon as you feel icky about something in a relationship or when you're newly dating, you need to bring it up and stop it in its tracks. Okay? You don't just say, oh, I hope he doesn't do that again. How is he going to know not to do that again? Unless you say, wait a second, I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that it felt. And by the way, what is going to register in his head is, I can't do that again. And I shouldn't do that again. And I think it's really cool that she knows what she's comfortable with. Right? So fuck choosing your battles. Don't choose your battles. Battle it out because it leads to establishing your boundaries. The next is kind of similar, which is open and assertive communication. This is very obvious in terms of what that means, expressing your needs and feelings directly. I always say using I statements. So when people are like, how do I ask, what are we? I'm always like, never like that. Right. And the reason that I say that is because that takes away the I and it takes away your autonomy and it makes it look like everything should be in their hands and they have control over it, which I really dislike. If you use an I statement, it not only avoids blame shifting, but it takes the pressure off because all you're doing is stating where you're at in this moment. All you're doing is saying, I really am enjoying getting to know you. And then it gives them a pause and an opportunity to say, I'm really enjoying getting to know you too. I was actually thinking about asking you, do you want to be my girlfriend? Whatever it is, right? Or they say, okay, that's really nice to hear. And then a week later, they say, when you said you're really enjoying getting to know me, it made me think and it made me realize I don't think I'm on the same page. Or the opposite, where they say, when you said you were really enjoying getting to know me, it made me realize that I'm really enjoying getting to know you, and I would like to do it so much more, but I just needed some time and whatever. You said an I statement and you told them where you're at, and that is cool, that's hot, that's open and assertive communication. Another thing is like going back to communications and actually boundaries. When you're saying that you're hurt by something, the I statement is extra important. I feel like you were condescending just now, and I am hurt by that. And then you also have to take what this person says at face value, especially if this person happens to be a man. Don't think that you're going to change him and truly walk away if he doesn't meet your needs. So, for example, there's someone in my life who is a guy, and I'm not going to blow up his spot because I do want people to date him and he's wonderful, but he is a man who dates women. And he says that he's not looking for a relationship. In reality, he is looking for a relationship, but he wants someone who he likes more than they like him, which doesn't happen often because he's a great catch. So he will often say when he's newly dating someone, and watch out for men like this because it's really not okay that he does this. He will say, I just want to let you know I'm not looking for anything serious right now. And then he will proceed to act serious with you and potentially introduce you to people in his life, right? But what he then loses respect with the women he's dating for is them thinking that that was a challenge and not a true statement that is never going to change. He's truly not looking for something serious if he says that he's not looking for something serious. If you came into this looking for that, he's not the guy for you. And so, as much as we really want to change people, we want to fix broken butterflies or whatever, if a man tells you something up front like that, he's already told you. If he says, "Yeah, I think I need a few months to heal from whatever," accept exactly that. Don't think that things are a changing because they're not. Another way to demand respect from people you're dating is active listening. This is really hard, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not great at it, and I try to be better at it all the time as a podcast host. Active listening is when you're straight up listening to hear someone. You're not listening to respond. You're not listening to, I don't know, whatever it is. You're just truly listening to them with no agenda. And the reason I say as a podcast host is because we always have to be thinking of the next question that we're going to say, which is why active listening can be hard. But anyway, it's when it comes to dating, active listening is all about paying attention, full attention to your partner, acknowledging their perspective, and showing genuine interest in what they have to say. So for this, for me, I take it as we can't get mad at people for not listening to us if we're not listening to them. Let's listen to understand and not to respond. So if you're not a good listener, you're not a good partner. And by the way, that doesn't mean you have to be a good listener to everyone. Nobody's perfect. No one can fully change, but be a good listener to the person that you want to date. Otherwise, they are not going to respect you and you're not going to respect them if they don't listen to you. Validate their emotions. So, this is a delicate one because I feel like men are babies that just want to be held at the end of the day. And I know that because I have a little baby who's a boy and he wants that. But he's an actual baby, so I don't know if that counts. This is all about showing empathy and understanding towards their feelings, even if you don't agree with their viewpoint. So I find it's such a green flag if a man goes to a woman, this is before obviously they're official or, you know, whatever, the early stages. If a man goes to a woman for advice, that is the biggest green flag. I feel that that is maybe more of a green flag than an I love you, right? Because if a man goes to you for advice, that not only shows that he respects you, it shows that he values you, it shows that he takes you seriously. I mean, is there, of course, the off chance that a man is asking their friend with benefits who they never want to date for advice? Yeah, no, of course. But if you're in the courting stage with a man and he asks you for advice, especially work advice, that man loves you and that man respects you. And that's amazing. And they're only going to go to you for advice if they feel like you can validate their emotions. Or maybe it's a test and they're seeing if you can validate their emotions, right? So be someone that they can and do go for work advice, friendship advice. I remember when Steven and I were first dating, and one of his friends had just broken off an engagement. And it was really like, I wouldn't say all about this friend at the time, but this friend was very important to him because Steven was really trying to show up for this friend and be there for him because he just went through something really traumatic. And he was always kind of hanging out at this person's apartment, this friend's apartment, and whatever. And so I remember a feeling came up at one point that was like, wow, you're always hanging out with, so and so. It takes it, and this was just in my head, I didn't say this out loud, but it takes time away from you and I hanging out and getting to know each other. But instead of me saying that, it took me a second to be like, wait, you know, he's prioritizing this guy because not only was he his friend before I came into his life, but he's going through something. That's actually really cool and really hot. And that's also Steven establishing his boundaries with me of I'm going to be there for a friend and prioritize a friend if they need me. And I think that was, looking back, a green flag because I was like, stumped. I honestly had never experienced a guy that I'm dating being such a good friend to his friends. And that's on, I guess, who I've dated in the past and whatever. But I thought that was, at first I was like, this is annoying. And at second, I was like, this is really good. So I think the reverse is true too, right? Had I had a friend who was going through something like that, and I was showing Steven that I prioritize that friend, that if he wanted to go to dinner, I was like, you know what? So and so's not in a good place right now. She just got dumped. I'm going to hang out with her. I think that's the coolest thing you can do. And I feel like guys think that that's so nice and nurturing. And they, again, respect you more for showing up for your friends and not prioritizing them. Okay. Moving along on the list. This is the most important one, and I talked about it in the beginning, but demonstrating self-respect. This entails valuing your own time, your own opinions, your needs, and setting the standards for how others should treat you. The reason that this episode came about is because I reposted a video that Joan, the Golden Bachelorette, love her, by the way. Joan, if you're listening, shout out, you're my girl. And I reposted a video of hers where she was telling her daughter, if if you're going on a date and he doesn't come to your door at your car, open the door, walk you in or walk you out, you know what I'm saying? Just that gentlemanly behavior. Don't even get out of the car. Don't even go out with him. And I was saying, this is so great that she's putting out this content because this is not asking too much. It's not asking too much to be treated well, to be treated nicely, to be, wooed and wined and dined when you're dating someone. It's not asking too much to be with a guy who's obsessed with you, right? That's the goal, I think. And so when you demonstrate self-respect, for example, not getting out of the car if they don't come open it. And by the way, it doesn't mean you're a diva. If you're in this situation, and I'm really never because we don't drive here in the city, but let's say that you're driving to, I don't know, or even if you're in the back of an Uber and you go to some guy's place and they're just like waiting for you to come up, I would text them and be like, "Hey, come get me at my Uber." I know it sounds crazy, but then you can joke about it. And there's a way to say it that it's not about being high maintenance. It's just about respecting yourself enough to be like, this doesn't feel good. And by the way, if it feels good for you to get out of your car and go knock on his door, then you should do it. I'm just saying if it feels better for you to be treated and for them to go that extra mile, then that's important. And you know what? I'm going to play the video because I honestly feel like she articulated it so well that it's definitely worth hearing on this podcast indefinitely. So, hang tight and I will be playing it in a second. Okay.
Show you who they are, believe them the first time. If you see somebody be rude to like a waitress, guess what? They're probably rude people. Yeah, I agree. If you're really out there looking for love, you don't want to waste a lot of time testing people out. If it's not good, end it. I think those are good lessons. Actually, that's kind of surprising.
Okay, that one was actually not the video, but that's also good advice. Obviously, how they treat other people is important to keep an eye on. This is the one.
Best advice you have given me is good advice is always have a guy come to your door. I remember in high school, so embarrassing. They would be honking the horn or calling our cell phones, and you'd be like, "Do not answer that phone or go outside. That boy is coming to the door. He's not going at all." Exactly. I think that was kind of about respect. Leads me into the next thing. One of my favorite things that you've taught me is people will only give you the respect that you let them that you demand. That's like for all relationships, not just like a romantic relationship. Yeah. People treat you the way you let them treat you.
So, echoing that, people treat you the way you allow them to treat you, and you're in control of that. So, that could be really great or really shitty. And that's all about you and you setting that tone. So, taking care of yourself, having your own life, doing what you say, and following through. Again, if you're signed up for a workout tomorrow, go to the workout. If you say you're not having more than one drink, you are not having more than one. You're not going to be convinced by this dude who you met 4 seconds ago. You said, no, I said I'm only having one, and I stick to what I say. That is hot, okay? Be reliable and consistent. Follow. So this is about following through on your commitments and being dependable, which means, obviously when women are dating men, we don't like to always show up on time. We definitely don't like to show up early. It's one thing to be 5 minutes late. Do not be more than that or consistently messing up the schedule. I have a girlfriend who I love dearly who is always 20 minutes late to things, and guys don't take her seriously. And I actually sat her down, and it was unrelated to the guy situation, but she had asked me, she was like, I'm feeling left out. I feel like I don't get invited to things. And I was like, that's because you're flaky and you don't show up on time. And she was like, oh my God, thank you for saying that to me. I wasn't even thinking about that. And I know it sounds so stupid, but it really is something that if you're demonstrating that you don't respect this person, again, they're not going to respect you. And then I would say the last kind of thing, and then we're going to get into more nuanced stuff, is respecting their boundaries too. Of course, they're allowed to have boundaries. Like I said, with Steven having the boundary of prioritizing his friend who was going through something. Recognize and respect your partner's need for space and personal autonomy. I hated giving Steven space early in our relationship. I think part of it was COVID because we didn't really, you know, there was no one to really hang out with except each other. But it was really hard for me because I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who needs space. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just was like, I want the person that I'm dating to want to be with me all the time. And I remember we had a conversation early on. We had celebrated, I think it was Mother's Day. And he was like, I'm going to, he was planning to go to his mom and I was going to go to my mom. And that's a holiday early on that, unless it's somehow really convenient for you to celebrate with both of your moms and look, they're best friends and they live, you're obviously splitting up for that. And I remember, we were in this phase where, or in this part of our relationship, I think it was before the I love yous. I think we were officially dating, but it was before I love yous. So it was kind of out of the woods vibes, if you're getting the Taylor Swift reference. We were established, but there wasn't security enough for me. And I remember he went to his parents and I went to my parents, and I was really nervous and I felt like he was communicating less, and I don't know, I was like, "Is he pulling back?" I didn't I I was not feeling good about it. And I could have in that moment been like, you know, just let my craziness kind of come to the surface, which I don't think would have been good because it wasn't it was unfounded, right? It didn't make any sense. It was just being in my emotion mind as opposed to my wise mind. If you know what I'm talking about with my CBT skills, and therapy skills, cognitive behavioral therapy, I wasn't in a wise mind. So I could have been like, maybe you should come back and be with us tomorrow or whatever it was, right? So he was only with his mom for one day or whatever. And I had to actively go against how I felt. And I was like, you should stay with your family for a few more days. And I actually started to do that, right? And so instead of me kind of prohibiting him from having space I in the early stages of our relationship, I would almost like encourage him to have more space from me. And that in turn made him want less space from me. And it's not a game and it's not whatever, but it's literally it's the quote, if you love something, set them free. And if they come back, like it was meant to be or whatever. I kept being like, you should go hang out with your friends. And I still do this to this day. Or, you should really go stay with your family. Or why don't you go on a trip? And all he wants to do is be with me. And I think that so much of that is because I encourage it and I welcome it. And if I were like, I never try to control his time. And if I was someone that tried to control his time, I think that he would rebel. And I think that he'd be like, I'm suffocated and I want to go see this person and I want to go see that person. But because I encourage, go to dinner with your friends or go on that trip to Mykonos or whatever it is, go stay with your family and I'll do this with Zachary. He never wants to do it. It's simple. It's a simple recipe. And if he did take me up on that, if he was like, "Yeah, I am gonna go to Mykonos," or "Yeah, I am gonna go over there," I would love that too, right? So it's like, don't empty threat them, but show them that you're happy with them doing what they wanna do. I think that's really important. And then when you're trying to demand respect from people you're dating, things to avoid, right? The first one is being demanding or aggressive. I have famously said I hate an ultimatum. If you give someone an ultimatum, they do not respect you. They think that you're cornering them, which is what you are doing. Of course, I'm going to get messages that are like, I gave my husband an ultimatum. He said it was the best thing I could have done. He was going to drag his feet for 4 more years. Now we have 3 beautiful kids. I'm happy for you. I don't personally like an ultimatum. Threats, honestly, an ultimatum is a threat too. I believe that these create tension and truly damage the relationship, and they blur the lines of what would I have done had I not been threatened, had I not had this ultimatum. Playing a victim is a huge way to get your partner to lose respect for you. Early on, when I was dating Steven and dating in general, and something would happen that would be annoying in my life, right? Like, I got my wallet stolen again, or I lost my sunglasses again. I'm texting that to my best friend. Like, of course, someone took my sunglasses. These ones lasted 15 minutes. But am I telling Steven that right away? Probably not, because then he might pick up on this narrative that I think that I'm a victim in my life because I'm always losing my sunglasses. Really dumb example, But the point being, you can't play victim. So if you're constantly complaining, that's no one respects someone that's constantly complaining. It's just not cute. Why don't you not complain? Because then when you do complain, people will take it seriously, right? Easier said than done. And going back to playing victim, if you're blaming your partner for stuff or for not respecting you, that undermines your own credibility. If you're like, you, you know, you never text me the morning after we have sex. Well, why have you continued being with him? If that happened once, right? And this goes back to not picking your battles and being openly communicative. If that happened once, I'd be like, hey, it really didn't feel good. And again, only if I knew he was still interested post, I'd be like, hey, it really didn't feel good when I didn't hear from you the day after we had sex. If we're going to have sex, and I don't care if this sounds insane, I need the text the morning after. And it could be funny. It could be a funny text. You could be like, obligatory text. What's up? And it could be our shtick, but that needs to be established. So if you're gonna say, "Oh my god, why do you never text me?" You're not a victim. You allowed this behavior to happen. I and I'm just telling you that I've said this before, just because I don't want you to think it's redundant if you're hearing it again. The first time Steven and I had sex, I said to him, if we're gonna have sex tonight, I'm gonna need you to sleep over because it just makes me no, it wouldn't make me feel good if you didn't. Because at this point, we weren't really doing the sleepover thing. We both, work really hard, and this was pre-COVID, and we like to be back in our space. But I was like, listen, if we're gonna have sex tonight, you're gonna have to spend the night. Like it's just the way that it goes. It's just what makes me feel better about the situation. I honestly don't even think I needed to explain more than that. He was like, done. And by the way, if you're giving a man sex, they will do anything you say. So to ask them to sleep over after is the bare minimum. And most guys probably would, but I think Steven knew that I wasn't that into sleepovers in general early on. So I established that I needed that and he respected it. Great. Anytime after that, if we had sex and he wasn't planning on sleeping over, because his default then was to sleep over, he would say ahead of time, ahead of the sex, I don't know if I'm going to be able to spend the night tonight. I know how you feel about the sleepover after sex thing. So, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to choose and it didn't make me feel bad. And then if you're ignoring red flags, right? If your partner consistently disregards your feelings or boundaries, it's a bad sign. And if they're doing that and you're still hanging around, then no respect, right? No respect is coming from your partner. And people are not dumb, right? People say to their friends, and I've even said it. I give this guy nothing and he's obsessed with me. He keeps coming back. Or, you know, I'm not even into this girl, bro, but she's always texting me, whatever. Everyone's heard it. You don't want to be on the other end of that. And something that plays into the respect thing also, hold on, I need some water. Okay. In the respect thing is also about high standards, right? So it's important to have high standards, but realistic standards for who you are and what you bring to the table. If you are unemployed and you have shitty friendships in your life and you don't work out, why should you be dating a successful guy who has amazing relationships in his life and a six pack? It doesn't add up. You have to be aware, so aware of what you are bringing to the table. I talk about this in an upcoming episode with my friend Kayla. When I met Steven, I knew that I had it going on as best that I could, right? I knew that I had my own apartment. I decorated it nicely. I had a career I was successful in and passionate about. I was good with my friends. I was sober and working on my health and fitness. I had a nice relationship with my family. I was like, I am bringing it. I thought that I had a good personality. I thought I was funny. I was like, I'm bringing all these things. Who's stepping up to the plate? Right. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be your high standards, should be things that you also have in your pocket. Because if that's the case, then you're going to meet your match. And how cool is that? But if that's not the case, then you're either going to be dicked around or rejected. And that sucks. I think as far as looks when it comes to high standards, I wouldn't get too hung up on that. I just feel like people get more attractive as you get to know them, and I know that men don't feel this way, and it sucks, and there's nothing I can do about it. I feel like if a man's attracted to you right away, he's attracted to you. It doesn't grow necessarily unless he already thinks you're hot and then he thinks you're hotter. Mhm. But he's not going to think you're unattractive to him and then you're attractive. But with women, don't get hung up on looks because men get more attractive to us as we get to know them if they're great. Someone who isn't your type can come in and change your entire perspective of who you're attracted to. So just keep that open mind when it comes to your standards. And then this I really love. I actually found this in a Reddit thread, so I'm going to give credit to this random Redditor. But they said, look for someone who will put a blanket on you when you're cold, or go to the store because you're out of Tylenol at any hour of the day or night. They're keepers. This is such a quality that you need in a partner. Steven is this person. Steven will get me Tylenol. If I woke him up at 4 a.m. and I was like, I have a headache, can you go get me Tylenol? He'd be pissed, obviously. He'd be like, oh, really? Seriously? But he would do it, right? I remember there was this peel an orange challenge viral TikTok thing, and it was asking your partner to peel an orange for you, no matter what they're doing in what state. And it how they react to it kind of shows how much they love you and care about you. And everyone saw these people's partners and which ones were the good ones and the bad ones, because the good ones were like, yeah, of course. And the bad ones were like, oh, seriously? Blah, 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 whatever. So, you want someone who's going to peel your orange. And I think that just the high standards thing can get very buzzy, especially on TikTok, like high value man, high value woman. Those terms are really annoying and dumb. Um, but I think if you just have a solid set of core values and know what you seek in a person, and you never settle for less, but you don't act like an asshole, then you can get away with it. And like the first video I played of Jones, watch how he treats others. This one's tricky because they might be nice to waiters, right? But they might be really shitty to their sister. You just never, you got to look for it. You got to look for it. Like they're very condescending to their mom, or they are never nice to your friends, like your girlfriends or their friends' wives. They think all their friends' wives are dumb. So there's something there that you need to pay attention to, and it's not as obvious as if they're mean to a waiter, they're a red flag. They might be really nice to waiters and a huge asshole, right? And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. And similarly, and this is the last thing I'll say on respect, is, showing up for yourself. Okay, this one I love. As a woman dating men, I will never, never, and of course I'll slip up every now and then. I'm not perfect, but I will never bring down other women in front of a man. And I feel like this is so important, guys. We got to be lifting our girls up. So, if you are watching a movie and your man is like, I just don't think Sabrina Carpenter is that hot or something, then you are all of a sudden Sabrina Carpenter's biggest advocate. You're like, what do you mean? She's gorgeous. She's got beautiful eyes, amazing blonde hair. She's got the cutest body, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's so important to lift people up. And I feel like lift other women up, especially. And I feel like sometimes men will test us on this, maybe not even realizing it. They'll be like, oh, she's okay. Or what do you think of her? They want you. They want to see if you're going to be like, yeah, she's gross. Her lips are totally fake. This is her before photo and this is what you're seeing after, but this is what she really looks like. They're looking for that. Be the girl who's like, she's absolutely gorgeous. And if she got work done, sign me up because she looks like a 10, right? I can't explain to you how powerful that is, but I know that it's powerful and it makes you so much more attractive. And I'm honestly going to end on that note because I feel like that one is definitely something that we need to be doing more often. I've definitely been in a place where I'm like, no, this is what she looked like before, or like she's on Ozempic, she gained, like she really doesn't. Whatever. We've all said something negative about someone, but let's try to not do that, and let's be like, you know what? That podcast host who has more followers than me, she's killing it, and she is gorgeous too, and she's got a really hot boyfriend, and I really like her style. Let's say that about other people, especially women to women. And I hope you enjoy this episode. I feel like it was a quick solo. Maybe it wasn't that quick. It's been like almost an hour. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend. I hope if you're watching on YouTube, interact with it. I feel like all my YouTube comments are just guys who hate women. So if you're not that, would love to see a comment on YouTube. And as always, thank you for listening. Feel free to write a review in the Apple Podcast app. And stay tuned for the next episode next week because it's a good one.